60, 70, 80 years old. Walking less means losing strength. Fast. These 5 moves can save you. Have you ever wondered how freedom slips away? Not with a dramatic fall, not with a hospital stay, but quietly. One slow morning, one heavy step, one more reason to say, I'm just getting older. You think you're fine. You think slowing down is natural. Until one day, climbing the stairs feels like scaling a mountain. Until one morning, getting out of bed feels like dragging 1,000 pounds. Until the moment you realize it's not just age stealing your strength. It's the small choices, the silent habits, the hidden traps. Today, through the journey of Elaine, a 72-year-old woman who almost lost her independence without even knowing it, I'll show you how. 5 small changes rescued her future. Stay with me, because the last 2 changes aren't just tips. They're lifelines, and they might be yours too. Elaine had always been proud of her independence. Living alone after retirement, she loved her morning routines, a stroll to the mailbox, watering her little garden, moving freely in her sunlit kitchen. But lately, things were different. Getting out of bed felt slower. Walking to the front gate left her winded. One morning, reaching the bottom of the stairs, she stumbled just slightly, but enough to grab the railing and catch her breath. Her heart raced, not from the stumble, but from the fear that crept in behind it. Is this it? She whispered to herself. Is this the beginning of losing who I am? The world often tells us that slowing down is inevitable after 60, 70, 80. But Elaine's doctor said something different. Elaine, he told her, movement loss isn't just about getting older. It's about moving less, a shocking truth. Because when you stop moving, even just a little, your muscles weaken, your joints stiffen. Your energy drains not from age, but from inactivity. It's like a car left idle too long. The battery dies. The tires flatten. The engine struggles to wake up. The body is the same. The more you avoid movement, the harder it becomes to move. The harder it becomes to move, the more you avoid it. And so the silent spiral begins. Elaine realized that morning, if she didn't act now, movement would leave her, and with it freedom. She didn't need to run marathons. She didn't need hours at the gym. She needed small movements, small wins, standing up every hour, stretching before getting out of bed, walking just 5 minutes around the living room. And so she started. At first, it was humbling. 5 minutes felt like forever, but each step reminded her body, you're not done yet. You can still move. You can still fight back. And deep down, a spark lit inside her, a stubborn hope. Tomorrow could be better. If she just kept moving, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. At first, Elaine brushed it off. The yawns by mid-morning, the heavy legs dragging through the afternoon, the way she'd sit down for just a minute and find herself waking up 2 hours later, disoriented, staring at the clock. It's normal, she told herself. Everyone slows down after 70. Maybe I'm just tired. But deep down, something gnawed at her. It wasn't just sleepiness. It wasn't laziness. It was a different kind of exhaustion, one that didn't make sense for someone who had barely done anything all day. Then came the afternoon that changed everything. Elaine had planned to bake her favorite lemon cake, something simple, something joyful. But halfway through, measuring the flour, she leaned on the counter, dizzy. Her hands trembled slightly. Her breath felt shallow. She didn't finish the cake. She barely made it to the couch before collapsing into sleep. She didn't even remember falling into. When she woke up hours later, the house dark, the kitchen abandoned, she knew something deeper was wrong. Not illness, not age habits. At her next checkup, her doctor didn't prescribe pills. Instead, he asked questions. Elaine, are you drinking enough water? How's your sleep schedule? How much are you moving during the day? Simple questions, devastating answers. Elaine realized. She drank maybe 2 glasses of water a day, far from enough to keep her cells energized. She went to bed whenever she felt like at midnight, one night 8 p.m. The next confusing her body's natural rhythm. She barely moved. Hours spent sitting, reading, watching TV, napping, while her muscles quietly withered away. Fatigue hadn't attacked her overnight. It had crept in, inch by inch, disguised as normal aging, while dehydration, poor sleep, and immobility drained her from the inside out. And here was the cruel trick. The less she moved, the more exhausted she felt. The more exhausted she felt, the less she moved. A perfect, vicious loop. But loops can be broken. Her doctor gave her 3 tiny assignments. Drink water before every meal. Even if it's just a few sips, go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. No excuses. Move gently every morning, even if it's just pacing around the living room for 5 minutes. Simple, small. But when Elaine started, the changes felt monumental. The first week, she was skeptical. Still tired, still sluggish. But by the second week, her mornings didn't feel like she was swimming through mud. Her afternoons didn't leave her slumped on the couch. She even caught herself once humming as she watered her plants, feeling energy she hadn't felt in years. And with every sip of water, every early bedtime, every small morning walk, Elaine whispered to herself, I'm not fading away. I'm waking up again, because fatigue wasn't her future. It was just a symptom, and symptoms can be treated, especially by the one person who cares the most herself. Elaine thought she knew the rules of getting older. You slow down. You give up certain things. You accept the aches and the weakness as part of life. At least that's what she had been told again and again by neighbors, friends' television ads, even her own family. Mom, you're not young anymore. Don't push yourself. Just take it easy now. At first, it sounded like kindness, protection. But over time, those words became walls. Walls she unknowingly built around herself, brick by brick, until she believed them, until every twinge in her knee, every yawn before noon, every moment she hesitated before getting up, felt like confirmation that maybe she was just too old to fight anymore. Maybe it was time to sit back, accept it, and fade quietly into the background. And then came the moment that shattered it all. One afternoon, Elaine's 6-year-old grandson, Tommy, visited, full of life, full of questions. While helping her put groceries away, he asked so innocently, Grandma, why do you move so slow now? Were you always like this? Elaine froze. It wasn't a judgment. It wasn't cruel. It was pure, honest observation, and it pierced deeper than any diagnosis ever could. In that small question, Elaine saw herself not through the lens of age, but through the eyes of wonder. A mirror she couldn't look away from, and something inside her snapped awake. Was this the story she wanted Tommy to remember? A grandma who sat more than she played, who watched life from the sidelines because she thought she had no choice? Or did she still have a different story left to write? That night, Elaine made a decision. She would stop believing age was her prison. Because the truth, one she had buried for too long, was this: it wasn't her body holding her back. It was her mind, her beliefs, the quiet acceptance that weakness was inevitable instead of the bold defiance that strength could still be rebuilt. If I believe I'm too old, I'll prove myself right, she realized. But if I believe I'm still capable, I'll prove that too. Belief isn't magic. It doesn't erase pain or make years disappear. But it decides whether you keep moving forward or surrender before the real battle even begins. And Elaine, she chose to fight not with grand sweeping gestures, not with impossible goals, but with small, stubborn acts of rebellion, stretching each morning even when she didn't feel like it, standing a little taller. Each time, doubt crept in, smiling a little wider when her knees ached, but her heart said, "Keep going," because belief isn't about denying reality. It's about refusing to accept a reality that's less than what you're capable of. Elaine wasn't chasing youth. She was claiming something even better: agency. The power to write her own story. One choice, one step, one breath at a time. And with her mind shifting, her body slowly but surely began to follow. Because change always starts in the one place no one else can touch, inside you. For years, Elaine wore her sleeplessness like a badge of honor. "I don't need much sleep," she used to say, smiling tiredly. "A few hours, here and there, that's enough for me." But deep down, she knew it wasn't enough. Not really. The restless nights, the tossing and turning, the heavy fog that clung to her mind each morning like a wet blanket. She told herself it was normal part of getting older, part of the invisible surrender everyone seemed to expect from her, until the night it caught up with her. It started like any other evening. Dinner alone at the kitchen table, a little television in the living room. A few minutes scrolling mindlessly through her phone. Hours slipped by without her noticing. When Elaine finally crawled into bed, it was close to midnight, but sleep didn't come. Her mind buzzed. Her heart raced. Her body, exhausted, refused to relax. At 2 a.m., she was still awake, staring into the dark ceiling, counting regrets instead of sheep. The longer she lay there, the more hopeless it felt, the harder it became to believe that morning would bring anything but more exhaustion. And somewhere in that hollow silence, Elaine felt something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a long time. Fear. Not just fear of sleeplessness, not just fear of fatigue, but fear that she was slowly losing herself day by day, night by night, and that she was powerless to stop it. That night, Elaine cried quietly, so no one, not even herself, could hear too clearly. She cried for the strength she thought was gone. She cried for the freedom she missed. She cried because she realized this wasn't living, it was waiting. Waiting for time to take everything she loved. And that was the moment everything changed. Because, in that raw, broken hour, Elaine made a vow to herself: I will not let exhaustion steal my life, not when there's still so much left to live. She got up right then and wrote a simple plan on the back of an old grocery list. No screens, an hour before bed, lights dimmed after dinner, a warm bath, or deep breathing before sleep. Same bedtime, every night, no matter what. It wasn't complicated. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a start. The next night, she followed it. It felt awkward at first, like learning to walk all over again. But her body noticed. The night after she slept 4 hours straight for the first time in years. A week later, she was sleeping 6. And what she discovered shocked her. Sleep wasn't just about feeling rested. It was about healing. It was about giving her muscles the chance to repair, her brain the chance to reset, her heart the chance to find peace again. Each morning, she woke a little clearer, a little lighter. It was like someone had opened a window in her soul, letting fresh air pour back in. After years of stale doubt, Elaine realized energy doesn't start with caffeine. Strength doesn't start with willpower. Healing doesn't start with doctors. It all starts with rest, with the simple radical decision to stop fighting the night and start trusting it to rebuild her from the inside out. And as the nights grew softer, the days grew brighter. She wasn't just awake again. She was alive again. Elaine thought she was doing enough. After all, she wasn't bedridden. She still got up to make coffee. She still watered the plants when she remembered. She still walked to the mailbox once in a while. Wasn't that enough? At first it seemed harmless, cozy even. A morning spent in her favorite armchair, reading mystery novels under a warm throw blanket. An afternoon drifting between television shows, phone scrolling, knitting, unfinished scarves. Days blurred into each other, soft, quiet, still, too still. Until one afternoon, when reality slapped her awake, Elaine had dropped a pencil on the floor while journaling. A simple thing. Bend down. Pick it up. But when she tried, her body didn't cooperate. Her knees protested. Her back locked up. She had to grip the armrests of her chair, gather herself like a diver, preparing for a plunge. And still the effort left her panting. Over a pencil. Something inside her cracked. When did getting off the couch become an event? She whispered. When did stillness start stealing my strength? The truth is cruel and quiet. The body you don't use forgets how to move every hour. Elaine spent sitting wasn't just comfort. It was corrosion. Blood pooling in her legs, muscles weakening day by day, joints stiffening like old hinges forgotten by time. And worst of all, the longer she stayed still, the harder it became to escape. Elaine realized she wasn't just sitting, she was surrendering, but not anymore. She made a promise that day. Movement would no longer be optional. It would be as necessary as breathing, as sacred as sleeping. She didn't join a gym. She didn't sign up for marathons. She simply moved. Tiny rebellions against stillness. Standing up every hour, even if just to stretch. Marching in place during commercial breaks. Walking laps around the living room while talking on the phone. Dancing badly joyfully to her favorite songs when no one was watching. At first, it felt silly, pointless. But within days, something miraculous stirred. Her legs didn't ache as much when she stood. Her balance returned subtly, surely. Her heart pumped stronger with each small march across the kitchen floor. And even more powerful than the physical changes was the shift inside her mind. Because every time Elaine stood up, even for a minute, even for no grand reason at all, she was sending a message. I am not a prisoner. I am not fragile. I am still here, still living, still choosing to fight. Movement wasn't just physical. It was emotional, spiritual, a declaration to the silent gravity that tried to hold her down. Not today, not now, not ever again. Because the real danger of sitting too long isn't just stiff joints or tight muscles. It's forgetting you have the power to rise at all. And Elaine was rising one step, one stretch, one fierce, stubborn breath at a time. There was a time when Elaine loved mornings, when the first rays of sunlight would slip through the kitchen window, lighting up the countertop where she mixed pancakes for her grandchildren. But over the years, the mornings had changed. The curtains stayed drawn a little longer. The television flickered before breakfast. The sun rose outside and she barely noticed. It wasn't a deliberate choice. It was just easier, more comfortable, safer somehow, to stay indoors where the world felt predictable. Until one day, during a routine checkup, her doctor asked a simple question that caught her completely off guard. Elaine, how much sunlight are you getting each day? She blinked. Sunlight. I go outside sometimes, she mumbled, embarrassed. The doctor smiled gently, not scolding, but sad. Elaine, your body craves the sun just as much as your soul does. And then he explained, as we age, our ability to produce vitamin D naturally drops. Vitamin D isn't just about bones. It supports muscles, energy, immunity, even mood. Without it, stiffness creeps in, balance fades, fatigue deepens, hope dims. It wasn't just coincidence. He said Elaine's heavy legs, her low afternoons, her cloudy moods. Part of her was starving, not for food, but for light. That afternoon, Elaine made a decision. No gym memberships, no complicated routines, just a return to something ancient, something free, something she had unknowingly abandoned, the sun. The next morning, she stepped onto her small front porch. It wasn't a grand gesture. She didn't hike a mountain or sunbathe for hours. She just stood there in the cool morning air, wrapped in a soft sweater, letting the sunlight touch her face. At first it felt strange, self-conscious, almost silly. But then something beautiful happened. The warmth seeped into her skin, gentle and persistent, like the reassuring hand of an old friend. She closed her eyes, breathed in the crisp air, and for a moment, she wasn't thinking about her aching knees or her to-do list or her fears about the future. She was simply there, alive, present, connected. The sunlight didn't solve everything overnight. It didn't erase the years or the struggles. But within a week, she noticed her sleep deepened. Her mornings felt lighter. Her mood lifted a soft, almost imperceptible upward drift. It wasn't magic. It was nature, working with her, not against her, restoring what the indoor walls had quietly stolen. And here's the most miraculous part. It took only 10 minutes a day, drinking her morning tea on the porch instead of in front of the TV, sitting by an open window when it was too cold outside, letting the natural light flood her mornings instead of shutting it out. Simple, effortless life-giving. Elaine realized something that day. Healing doesn't always require more effort. Sometimes it simply requires more openness, more willingness to step into the light, literally and figuratively. Because no matter how old we are, no matter how many aches or scars we carry, the world outside still waits for us. The sun still rises, patiently, faithfully, inviting us back into a life warmed by hope, fueled by nature, and brightened by possibility. Elaine chose to answer that invitation. And every morning she stepped into the sunlight. She wasn't just absorbing vitamin D. She was absorbing life itself. Elaine had made progress. She moved more. She slept better. The sunlight once again kissed her mornings, but deep down, a lingering fear refused to let go. It crept in quietly when she hesitated before stepping onto a curb, when she grabbed the handrail just a little too tightly, when she caught herself avoiding the stairs altogether. The fear of falling. Not just falling to the ground, but falling into dependency, falling into a life where she would need help for even the simplest things. Elaine had seen it happen before. A friend from church. One bad fall. One broken hip, and suddenly their vibrant life collapsed into a wheelchair, a hospital bed, a series of, "I'm sorry, I can't do that anymore." Elaine refused. She refused to let fear write her ending. She knew now. Mobility wasn't something you had or lost overnight. It was something you fought for, nurtured, protected. And it began with the legs, the silent pillars of independence, the first to weaken if ignored, and the first to empower if strengthened. Elaine didn't join a fitness program. She didn't invest in expensive equipment. She simply started where she was, in her living room, with her sturdy kitchen chair and a heart full of quiet determination. Her routine was simple, almost laughably so. Chair squats, sitting down slowly, standing up carefully, 5 times, then 10. Seated leg lifts, straightening one leg at a time, holding it proud, telling her muscles, "Wake up, you're needed." Heel, raises rising onto her toes, feeling the calves tighten, the blood rush, the silent strength return. The first few days, it was humbling. Her legs trembled. Her balance wavered. But every wobble was a whisper. You are rebuilding. You are not done. You are alive. Week by week, something remarkable unfolded. Standing from her chair no longer felt like a calculated risk. Climbing the porch steps became a simple act, not a silent prayer. Crossing a parking lot didn't trigger hidden anxiety, and more than the physical changes, Elaine felt something she hadn't touched in years. Confidence. The kind of confidence that doesn't come from lifting weights or running marathons, but from knowing your body is yours again. Yours to trust, yours to command. Each small exercise was an act of rebellion against fragility. Each movement, a bold vote for independence. Elaine understood now. Strength doesn't come roaring in. It tiptoes back quietly through every squat, every lift, every trembling toe raise, until one day you realize you're not clinging to life. You're standing tall inside it. Not because you have to, but because you choose to. And as Elaine flexed her legs, one cool morning, feeling the strength humming beneath her skin, she smiled. I'm not just standing on my feet, she thought. I'm standing on my future. And it was solid, and it was hers. Elaine had regained much. Her steps were steadier. Her mornings were brighter. Her strength was no longer a distant memory, but something she could feel humming quietly beneath her skin. But balance true, balance still felt fragile. A breeze could still unsettle her. A quick turn could still leave her dizzy. There were moments when her body would whisper doubt. Are you sure you can trust me yet? It was during one of those moments that she stumbled, not a fall, just a misstep, and decided it was time for something more. Something deeper. Something that didn't just strengthen muscles, but reconnected mind and body. The answer came in a place she hadn't expected: the dusty bulletin board at her local library. Pinned between flyers for bake sales and book clubs was a simple notice: gentle yoga and Tai Chi for seniors, all levels welcome. Elaine hesitated. Yoga, Tai Chi. She pictured young bendy bodies twisting into impossible shapes, balancing on one hand, floating upside down. That's not for me, she thought. I'm too stiff, too slow, too old. But the word that lingered wasn't yoga or Tai Chi. It was gentle. And something inside her, the same stubborn flame that had pulled her out of exhaustion, that had marched her around her living room, that had soaked her in morning sunlight, whispered, just try. So she did. She arrived at the community center one crisp Thursday morning, nervous but determined. The room was simple: soft mats, big windows spilling sunlight across the floor. People of all shapes, sizes, and ages. None of them perfect. All of them brave enough to show up. The instructor, a woman in her 60s with silver hair and a kind smile, welcomed her without judgment. Move how you can, she said. Breathe how you can. There is no right. There is no wrong. Only kindness to yourself. The first few minutes were awkward. Her joints protested. Her balance wavered. But as the class moved through slow stretches, careful steps, deep breaths, something remarkable happened. The noise inside her mind began to quiet. No worrying about falling. No replaying old fears. No rushing to keep up. Just movement. Just breath. Just being Tai Chi felt like a dance she had always known, but forgotten. Soft, flowing, grounded. Yoga felt like a conversation with her own body. Here you are. I see you. Let's move together again. Elaine wasn't fast. She wasn't flexible. She wobbled. She laughed. But she stayed. In every class, she stayed a little steadier, breathed a little deeper, trusted herself a little more. Over time, she noticed the changes. She could catch herself if she stumbled. She no longer feared stepping off curbs or reaching high shelves. She moved with a grace that felt ancient somehow, like reconnecting to a wisdom her body had been carrying all along. Balance wasn't just a physical thing. It was mental, emotional, spiritual. It was standing tall in a world that tried to push her down and smiling as she did it. Elaine learned that day. Strength keeps you standing. Balance lets you move freely. Together, they give you your life back. And for the first time in years, Elaine didn't just feel like she was surviving. She felt like she was dancing. In her own slow, beautiful, imperfect way, Elaine was dancing with life again, and life was dancing right back. 6 months. That's how long it took. 6 months of tiny decisions, tiny movements, tiny acts of rebellion against the quiet decline everyone told Elaine was normal. And now, one morning, under a soft gold sunrise, Elaine stood at the end of her driveway, breathing deeply, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Not just strength, not just energy. Freedom. Real, undeniable freedom. She glanced at the small hill just beyond her street, a path she once loved but hadn't dared climb in years. Today, she didn't just dare. She started walking. Her steps were steady. Her legs, once heavy and hesitant, carried her easily. Her balance, once fragile as glass, now held her firm with every shift of the earth beneath her feet. Neighbors waved as she passed. A young couple jogging with their dog smiled and nodded. And Elaine smiled back, not because she was being polite, but because she meant it. Because in that moment, with the sun warming her face, with her heart pounding, not from fear, but from joy, she knew. She hadn't just rebuilt her muscles. She hadn't just improved her sleep or boosted her vitamin D. She had reclaimed something far rarer and far more precious. Her life, her independence, her dignity, her power to choose what each day would look like, no longer trapped by a stiff body or a tired mind, no longer sitting on the sidelines, watching the world rush past. Elaine was living inside her life again, boldly, fully, unapologetically. Sure, there were still moments of stiffness. There were still days when the couch whispered her name too sweetly. There were still shadows of doubt that crept in on the harder days. But now she knew how to answer them. Not with despair, not with surrender, but with small, stubborn actions. A stretch, a walk, a breath of sunlight, a memory of who she had become, and a vision of who she was still becoming. Because freedom, after 70, doesn't come from luck. It doesn't come from perfect health or untouched youth. It comes from choice. The choice to move. The choice to fight. The choice to believe that every day, no matter your age, is still yours to shape. And standing there on that hill, feeling the wind on her face and the strength in her legs, Elaine whispered a quiet vow to herself. I am not done living. I am not done becoming. And every step I take is proof that I'm still writing my story, not as a victim of time, not as a prisoner of aging, but as the author of a life still unfolding page by page, step by step, breath by beautiful breath. Elaine's story isn't just a story, it's a mirror, a reflection of what's possible for her, for me, for you. Maybe you're sitting there right now, feeling the familiar heaviness in your legs, the quiet ache in your back, the whisper in your mind that says, "It's too late. This is just how it is now." But let me tell you the truth. The truth. Elaine discovered, one slow, stubborn morning at a time, it's never too late. Not for strength, not for energy, not for life. The body you live in still listens, still hopes, still responds to every small choice you make. You don't have to climb mountains. You don't have to transform overnight. You just have to choose one small step. Maybe it's standing up right now and stretching your arms overhead. Maybe it's filling a glass of water and drinking it slowly, gratefully. Maybe it's opening the curtains and letting the morning light kiss your skin. Maybe it's promising yourself that today you'll move just a little more than yesterday. Tiny choices, quiet victories, but stacked together, day after day, they create something miraculous. A life reclaimed, a future expanded, a spirit awakened. Elaine's future didn't change because she found a magic cure. It changed because one day she said, "Not yet, not done, not giving up." And today, it's your turn. So let me ask you, what is the one small thing you will do today to honor your strength? Will you walk to the mailbox instead of just checking it tomorrow? Will you step outside for 10 minutes of sunlight? Will you set a bedtime tonight and protect it like the treasure it is? Whatever you choose, choose something. Choose you, because your story isn't finished. Your best days aren't behind you. They're waiting ahead within reach, just beyond one brave, small step. Elaine found her freedom, not by running toward it all at once, but by walking patiently, persistently toward a life she could still love. You can too. And when you do, when you take that first small step, your body will know. Your heart will know. Your future will know. You chose life today, and life will choose you right back.